Hey guys, and welcome back to Mini UK! And I'm so sorry, this is a speed build. I didn't plan on this being a speed build. As a matter of fact, I was talking the entire time, but didn't realize that my recording software forgot what my microphone was. And I just realized when it was much too late, when I started editing. So, I'm sorry. But maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, because this build was a struggle because I didn't know what to do. I asked you guys how to connect the entry section with the maze section, and obviously, just like me, you had no idea. Except for Rob, who said, just do a winding path with some nature. And so I did. Yeah, so here right now I'm laying down the path, trying to make it as flowy as possible and still interesting. And I liked this little weird curve that happened there, so I tried to work it in. It worked. And path stuff. So yeah, as I said, I was completely clueless about what to do, not just with the connection here, this small little bit where I'm doing the windy path, but also with the rest of this section, this middle section of the park. And so I just started, to be honest. And all of a sudden I had the idea that usually I like to include elevation into my parks to sort of give you an overview. And I hadn't done that yet, which is partly because you have these overview sections quite naturally in this map because all of these cutouts, but you don't have any that are elevated from an elevated standpoint. So I thought maybe this was the space to add something like that. And so I added this elevation and the viewing tower so you could have a look onto the maze and decide if you wanted to go in there or not quite early on. Then I started to sketch in a space where I could add an exhibit. I still didn't know what dinosaur I wanted to have there and what sort of exhibit it was supposed to be, but I just sketched in a space so I wouldn't fill it up. And then I struggled a lot with how to connect the maze with this windy path. And I tried a few things, like I had this circle in front of on the entry for the maze, but I just couldn't figure out how to connect it and how to have enough space with the elevation. It really narrowed the elevated section down when I had the circle there, and I redid it a few times before I finally decided to toss it, and that the entry to this maze didn't have to be this big. And because otherwise I couldn't make it work if I wanted to keep the elevation, which I did, around the exhibit. So this is a poor try to connect this in a wavy way, this circle. I added this little bean-shaped space next to the tower to have it be a seating section after the exhausting walk up the winding path, so you could sit down. So I wanted to have that, which reduced my space to add a connection to the maze quite significantly. I tried maybe going down with the elevation and then back up, but that didn't make any sense to me. So I tried it again and said, okay, let's just do a little rectangular space in front of it and connect it with a long straight path. That's easiest, so you have enough space for whatever windy stuff you want to do up there, and added some of the Malta decorations to, tie it all in with the maze. And I thought, well, it's a royal maze. Have a castle structure in front of it is not the worst idea. So I did that, and I really like it. Sort of really looks like a castle entry or something, or as if there was a castle there at some point. Of course, I had to hide all the ugly bits, all the Malta bits, with the fluffy bush. It's our trusty friend. Who else could do the job? And of course, I added the bison fountains that you find quite a lot in this maze, just to tie it all in together. Continued my windy road and then used the black or dark gray path to connect it, because I'm using this one back like in the Stonehenge exhibit. You know, it's not the most fancy way, but I feel it is a pretty nice way. And then, of course, I added these two Stonehenge rocks in front, sort of creating a gate to this maze, and added torches and these lights. So, you know, you have the two themes that are happening back there combined in the entry, line the path with bushes because of maze stuff. And I think it works pretty fine. So then I just hid the bunker I added back to the guest section of the Stonehenge thing. And then I went dinosaur shopping. I had no idea what I wanted to put in there. And then I saw Baryonyx and thought, Baryonyx, of course. Okay, so let's do something watery. And in hindsight, I always try in these speed builds to explain why I like my views that I create. And I'm adding this gallery here. And turns out it's something that I realized while editing, that this lake looks as if it was a continuation of the ocean or the sea. And I didn't do this knowingly. It's something that happened instinctively. Well, the second view isn't that great. But I think that is why this view works. And I think it works pretty well. I would even say it works greatly. Or it's a great view. And I think that's just because it connects the backdrop of this with what is happening inside of the exhibit. I sort of had the feeling that I wanted to have a real fence around Baryonyx. Checked the view and saw that I didn't like the real fence in the background because it destroyed the illusion of the continuation of the sea, like an infinity pool. So I exchanged that, and then I tried to figure out how to put buildings there. I added this bathroom, and then I just filled in the rest of it with path. I found a way to make some of these medium amenities fit, which is cool because so far I only have small ones, I think. I left a little bit of space for some nature. This weird little fidget spinnery shape there is going to be filled with beach stuff because in this episode we're beaching. Here I added the amenities. I just put down one, then put this straight path in front so I could arrange them in a way that made all three of them fit. And then just wave the path by. And I wanted to have a seating section in front of these with a view onto the start of the park and onto the ocean or the beach in front of it. So I left some space there so I could add this seating section with another path color. By the way, I tried the brown path, but I'm not feeling brown in this park. It had to be gray. So I went back to the gray path. What is wrong with me today? And then I went back to the path I did around the restroom there and realized this is just some wasted space and no one is going to walk there. The view isn't that great because you have the fence in front of your face. So I decided to shrink this noodly path that I had created there down to just a circular thing around the restroom and walked through it. Hallo Schnoo, who's walking over my desk right now, to check if I felt like closed in by the fence or something, or if I had to change this, but I didn't. So I said, I don't know about you guys, but it felt okay to have this fence around you, so I kept it. But I replaced the rest that I brought really close to the maze with an invisible fence because, as you see, I decided that these seating sections I had created in the maze would be so much more exciting, and the reason to go into this maze would be more exciting if you could look into the exhibit. And here I created a little look onto the sea so you don't feel as closed in as you are in this maze, and I really like how that turned out. So Now all of the layout is laid down and I could start with decorating. So I started with the path, this winding path that I just wanted to be very natural. As Rob suggested, he even said it could maybe be a little bit quaint. I don't know if I achieved that, but it's naturey, and I did my best to have it be surprising so that you cannot see what's around the corner, and just create moments of surprise and with views onto the rest of the park, onto the sea. And so I did that with lots of rocks, lots of checking how everything looks. I go into first person mode quite a lot. I edited most of it out because it's a little bit annoying. But some of the instances where I went into first person mode to check this are kept in here, so I can talk a little bit about it, about my thoughts there. So yeah, lots of rocks and nature. What else can I say? Nothing much. And I also started to add in a few conifers to the nature, excuse me, because I thought there is just really no reason to not have them in Britain, in the UK. Here I'm walking, checking the view, and saw that, well, all the decorations opening up. It looks sort of like a gate with those two rocks, and it's opening up to this hill. And it would make sense to leave it open if I could add some decorations on the hillside to have it look like there's a path or what's it called, a game trail leading up there or something, but I couldn't. So I decided to close it up a little bit with stuff so you don't feel it just felt weird. What can I say? It had to not be open so you wouldn't get the wrong impression that something special is there. You know, when a view all of a sudden opens up. Now I checked if I liked the view there. I didn't like this big rock. And then I saw that from this view, you can see the tower I put up. And I didn't like that. I wanted you to have a little bit of a surprise. And I went back in again and checked if you can still see it. But I had to add a little tree in this little gap that is created by the Malta tree, the perfect tree. Checked again and double checked, and now it's invisible. Perfect. Yeah. So what was I saying? When there is an opening and it looks like I don't know, it felt like intentional, but there's nothing there to see, so it had to be closed. Okay, so yeah. Just adding trees and nature to the rest of the path, because now it was just pretty much a straight path up to the tower, and I did my best to make it as unboring, interesting word, not boring as possible. It's done in a few seconds. Now. So this is what it looks like when you go up there. I like it. What can I say? First, you have this overhanging tree that opens up the view onto like the section that you're about to walk into. Pretty nice. This thing is now closed up, so you don't have the impression that there might be something of interest there. Cool, you don't see the tower from here. Perfect. Again, you get a bit of a different view onto this. And the tower is actually still hidden when you come around the corner, and you're just starting to see it now, which I like a lot. So it turned out perfectly. And then I saw something needs to happen in front of the tower. I struggled a lot. I tried different things and ended up with this sort of a make-believe fountain with the plants inside thing. It's not the best idea, but I for the life of me, I couldn't find something else that made me happy. So I just stick with it. And then I lined this seating section that is about to come into existence with these alternating 3 planters. I like that a lot. I use those low planters because I wanted people to be able to look over them, and they are the lowest. So they are the only ones where you can really look over. And yeah, but I actually wanted to change planters in this section, which I'm going to do with the Baryonyx exhibit. And then I wanted to separate this seating section with something. So of course I went back to my favorite fallback option and created a really long, large planter out of these Malta walls with the fountain, with the small fountain. And I had to fiddle a bit to find the perfect position because I wanted it to be really long. I wanted it to have the length of 3 wall pieces. And here I'm realizing that I didn't leave myself enough space on the right side. So I put it a little bit forward and to the left. And that was the perfect space for it. So yeah. That's just how you do it. You connect these walls. You don't need to put the lights in between, but I like to do that. It helps with the little gap that exists between 2 wall pieces. And then I just put planters in and alternating with bushes, and now it just looks like a large planter. I like that a lot. Yeah. There is no seating section without tables and chairs, so of course I had to add those. Seating section done, like it, it's nice. The other side of the path is just going to be lined with nature, and speaking of nature, I wanted to add nature here, and since we're on the beach section, I wanted it to be something with water. Didn't have enough space for like more than a puddle, so I extended this a little bit and filled it with sand to sort of tune you into the beaching. Beach, let's do beach. It's a beach off. And just added some of these, what's it called? Well, this grass, because I felt it has the most beachy vibes of all the vegetation, and I didn't feel like leaving it completely plain without any vegetation. And rocks. Just created something that to me looks a lot like what could happen on a beach. I have seen beaches that look similar. But maybe Ken could help us with this. Okay, so onto the exhibit, checking the views constantly. I wanted to have like a separation between those 2 viewing galleries because I like it if there are more than one gallery or a tower or whatever, that you see something from each of them that you don't see from the other one. So I added the forest to, create a wall between those. And I really liked the first view I showed you where it's a continuation of the ocean. But this one, this long corridor, I don't know. It wasn't making me terribly happy. First, I started adding some beach sand and a little bit of elevation. And I always went back in and checked the view. And it took me a while to realize something right in front of the gallery had to be happening. There was just nothing there. Everything was happening in the background. Yeah, so now I'm adding rock texture because I started adding rocks and texture because I didn't know what to do. I was a little. I still hadn't cracked the code. What was wrong with this view, the second view? So I started making the first one a little bit nicer, adding rocks just to add some dimension to this little island thing that I had there. And then I felt comfortable doing the same thing on the other side and to add detail with rocks because you need to start somewhere. And I thought this was maybe going to help me. And I think it did. now I'm realizing something needs to happen right in front of this. So let's just maybe elongate the water feature. And now that it's coming up to the gallery, it's already did a lot. I changed the position of this tree because I felt like this tree has the potential to add some interest because of this overhanging leaf life. So yeah, it had to go somewhere else now that I have changed the land features. And just adding rocks again, trying to add some interest here. And then I realized something right in front of the gallery was missing, added this grass, and that's already enough. So you have the feeling you're a little hidden, you're in safety, maybe like an observer because you're like hidden behind rocks and grass. And that adds a level of security, I feel, and coziness. And now I realize that here too, with the rocks on the side, I tried to sort of continue the landscape behind. Again, it happened instinctively, but it's quite apparent when you edit this and all of a sudden you see what's happening there. So I had to share this with you guys. And I think it always elevates your exhibits. If you have a backdrop, which we always do, but some of them are nicer than others or more impressive than others. And I think it always elevates your exhibit design if you keep that in mind and play with it and include it in your landscaping. For example, by trying to make it look as if it is a continuation of what's happening behind it. But there are other ways. I'm pretty sure I'm going to show you other ways in the future. But yeah, that's what it looks now. And I don't know, I had this fence replaced, the invisible fence, because it felt creepy to me that you could just step over the wall and into the exhibit. But then after checking it in first person mode, it felt really weird to have this fence in your face. So I exchanged it again and put up these red signs that are supposed to be warning signs. And I put them at the entrance of the maze too. And I'm going to put them everywhere where there is the possibility to be stupid and enter an exhibit, which you shouldn't do ever. So that's taking care of all the Draco Malfoys out there. If they're not behaving, then it's their fault. I warned them. Okay, so onto the exhibit was now done. Is it? Yeah, it is. So I had to decorate the outside of it, and I felt like, beaching is our thing today, in this section. So let's add lots of water and let's use lots of fountains. So I aligned this entire thing with these small fountains. The section right here you're seeing, and added nature behind it, sort of continuing the forest I have in the exhibit. And I really like how these fountains are illuminating the rocks. Like, something that I'm missing, usually when I build for myself, I build with the day-night cycle on because I like the different moods and lighting situations you get there. And I like to build my parks with lighting in mind and like seeing what it looks like if you put some thought into lighting. But it's terrible for editing if I have the day-night cycle on. So I'm just putting this to nighttime, and I kind of miss working with the darkness in this game. And sunsets and everything. It just adds so much. Yeah. So where was I going with this? I don't know. Lighting. Try working with the day-night cycle, guys. It's fun. It adds a level of fun to your park builds. So yeah, now I had to fence off the electric fence so that no one would walk up to it and touch it and die. So I worked with planters, with walls. I used those low planters again because I want people to be able to look over them, which is not possible with the planters I chose for this section. These wooden planters, these wood concrete mix planters. Yeah. created a little seating section. Very nice for people who are waiting, for people who are busy in the restroom. And now I'm lining the seating section in front of the amenities with a combination of planters that I have never used. I tend to lately not just alternate my decoration pieces, but really alternate. So I'm using two different types of planters, not types of planters, but two different types of foliage and combining them. And what can I say? I like it. And this was one of these miraculous, magical moments where this thing just fit perfectly, which I like a lot. What can I say? Okay, and now I just had to add a separation between the path that you're walking on and the path where you can sit. So, I don't know. I tried this combination with the fountain and the walls, and I kind of liked it, so I kept it. It worked. It brought in the beach again with the water. And now I struggled a bit how to put tables and chairs in there and make it look nice. I always struggle with large seating sections and the arranging of tables and chairs because I just don't want to, plaster it with them, but create little clusters. And it doesn't always come naturally to me how to arrange them. But in the end, I think I figured something out that's quite all right. So there you go. Now all we need is some finishing touches, like do something to this little round section there and hide the backsides of the buildings. Fountain. And now all that was left to do was line this other side of the path. It is just going to be nature. So I put lots of flowers down, rocks, and a little bit of foliage, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little speed build. I'm so sorry that it was a speed build, but in the end, I guess it's probably best because I was really, really a lot of times not knowing what to do. And maybe it's best to just see the distilled version of what I ended up doing. So yeah, I hope you like this. I hope you'll stay tuned, leave a like, and maybe a comment for what I should do next. I think I'm going to do the Hogwarts thing next. And I don't think there's many episodes left of this series, maybe 1 or 2, and then we're doing a park tour. And I have already a wonderful new project that I'm going to do after this. So stay tuned. And if you want to support me, go check out my Patreon. Until next time, bye-bye.